Okay, so this is going to be my first video. I'm going to make apple pie filling, and then we'll do, it's called like a rustic apple tart. So the first step is to make the apple pie filling, and what it calls for is 3 cups of fresh apples, roughly chopped, and you put them in this bowl with about a tablespoon of lemon juice. The lemon juice will help keep the apples from turning brown. So I'm just about at the end of this, and I have confirmed that I don't like to peel apples. Not a fun job. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm considering that 3 cups worth of roughly chopped apples. They are already in the bowl with a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then the next step is to put stuff in a saucepan. I'm going to swap this out. Okay, so it says in the saucepan you're going to add a cup of water, which I have measured, a cup of sugar, no, let's see, actually 2 cups of sugar, no, hold on. Yeah, 1 cup of sugar, sorry. This is a great starting point for my video because I can only go up from here. 1 cup of sugar, then a 1/4 teaspoon each of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, and salt too. So just roughly doing a 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon, cloves, and I have this recipe on the website, nutmeg. 3 of those things. And then, let's see, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And also the cornstarch, which is a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. Yep, right here. Then you put it over the flame, over like I would say medium heat. Heat it through until it's thick and bubbly. And so that's my next step. Let me pause this for a second. So I've got everything in the saucepan over the medium flame. And I'm whisking it, mix it all up. I wanted to mention that in order to get the 3 cups of apples, of roughly chopped apples, it took me about 4 apples, I'd say. Depends on the size of your apples. Mine are not very big. Mine are like this. Took about 4 of them. And then the other thing is I like to keep a bowl. I like to keep a bowl like this on my counter when I'm cooking. I find that it just makes it easier, like clean up and stuff and prep. I learned it from Rachel Ray. Hold on, there's my bowl. I just throw all the peels and maybe eggshells, whatever, all the organic stuff I throw it in there. And where we live, we recycle. They pick our organic stuff up. They call it humido. They pick that up twice a week. So I put it in the bowl and I put it in a plastic bag and they take it away. Okay, so I'm just going to continue cooking this until it gets thick and bubbly, and once that happens I'll put the apples in. Okay, this stuff is thick and bubbly. It's awesome. So now it's time to just put the apples in. I don't need the whisk anymore. Dump the apples. I hope that's 3 cups. I didn't measure, I just went by eye. And then I'm going to stir this, and it says to continue cooking for, let's see, continue cooking for another 3 minutes, not very long. So again, over medium heat. Kind of looks like caramel apples, but I bet you as I keep cooking, I bet you some of the moisture from the apples is going to release, make it a little bit thinner, possibly. So 3 minutes. Okay, so it's been 3 minutes. So now what I do is, it smells amazing too. So I turn the heat off. And then I'm just going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we let this come to room temperature. Okay, so when you think about this, you know, how long has it taken me? I peeled and chopped 4 apples, big deal. And then I just added all the other ingredients, no big deal. Brought it to a boil, then added the apples, continued cooking for another 3 minutes. Now we get to let this come to room temperature. But, you know, if you've never made like fresh apple pie filling, you gotta give this a shot. You know, there's no magic involved. It's really easy. And, you know, it tastes so much better than what you buy in a can. So anyway, we're just gonna let this sit, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to put it in like a crust. Yeah, in like a pastry, and then you kind of fold it up. And like I said, we're making a rustic apple tart. I kind of like the way that that's named, and I'll explain why later. Okay, so continuing on, my apple pie filling has come to room temperature. I took out a pre-made pie crust and I unrolled it. I put it on a baking sheet that had been lined with parchment paper, because it's just going to be easier to remove this with the parchment paper, because it won't stick to the baking sheet. Anyway, now I'm just going to put my apple pie filling in the center of this. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to use, but I'm going to put it in the center. You know, I think I'm going to use the whole thing. Let's just see how that goes. Okay, this yummy goodness. All right, now, of course it didn't go all center, but now what you do is you just fold the crust over. Now I want, let me see here. I don't want to get a whole bunch of crust on crust, then it'd just be too much. I want that filling in there. So I guess you're basically giving yourself like an inch margin. There we go. And then you just fold it over. And this, what I like about this is it doesn't have to be pretty. I have a problem with baking pies. Anyway, fold it over. I'm going to end up putting it in a 375 degree oven for probably 20 minutes or so. There we go. And that is the way it's supposed to look. Then I'm just going to crack an egg, whisk an egg. I'm just going to brush it over the crust. It'll give it a nice shiny finish to it. It'll be pretty. There's my little pastry brush. Just a little bit. Now, you know, you can make your own pie crust, of course, and I have a great recipe on the website. But sometimes, I mean, you saw how easy it was to make this apple pie filling. You know, sticking with the easy, I just used the store-bought crust. And actually, I've been pretty impressed with it. I think it's pretty good. That's that. Now that's going in the oven, and then I'll let you know what it looks like when it comes out. So here it is, finished product. I had it in the oven for 375 for about 20 minutes, but I started checking it after 15 minutes, and it looks beautiful. So what I'm going to do is let it cool completely, and then I'll serve it that way. And I hope it's awesome. Once it cools completely, it'll be really easy to take off of this parchment paper. And that's it. I'll have the recipe on the website. Thanks. Bye.